The stadium lights dimmed, and the roar of the crowd faded into silence. There he stood, alone on the field, shoulders slumped, eyes locked on the scoreboard, flashing the final result. A heartbreaking loss that could have been his last game. The media had already begun writing the headlines, the end of an era. Once a star, now just a memory. But deep inside, he knew this wasn't the end. This was the same player who had once been a rising star, a name every fan knew and every defender feared. Injuries had ravaged his body, critics had torn apart his reputation, and even his own team had begun to lose faith. The league had moved on, the fans had forgotten, and everyone seemed certain that his career was over. Everyone except him. What no one knew was that, behind the scenes, away from the cameras and headlines, he was preparing for the greatest comeback in NFL history. Not for fame, not for money, but to prove one thing: you don't quit when the world tells you to. This isn't just a story of football. It's a story of grit, determination, and the relentless refusal to give up. The comeback was about to begin. His career began like something out of a dream. In college, he was unstoppable. The fastest, the strongest, and the most determined player on the field. Every game was a highlight reel, and scouts couldn't stop talking about his raw talent and leadership potential. When draft day came, his name was called early. The franchise that picked him believed they had just found their next superstar. His rookie season did not disappoint. He broke records, made Pro Bowl appearances, and quickly became the face of the team. Fans wore his jersey, kids mimicked his moves, and analysts predicted he was destined for the Hall of Fame. But success can be fragile in the NFL. In his third season, it all changed. A devastating injury during what should have been a routine play left him on the ground, clutching his knee in agony. The diagnosis was brutal: torn ACL, MCL, and significant nerve damage. Doctors warned that a full recovery was unlikely, and the media echoed the same message. This could be a career-ending injury. Will he ever return to his former glory? He fought through rehab, determined to return stronger than ever. But when he finally stepped back on the field the following season, something was different. His speed wasn't the same, his cuts weren't as sharp, and doubts began to creep in from all sides. The fans who once cheered his every move began to lose faith. Coaches started limiting his snaps, and by mid-season he was benched. The once promising career that had seemed destined for greatness was now seen as a tragic tale of what could have been. By the end of the season, his team made a decision that no one had expected. They cut him from the roster. The fall from greatness was swift and merciless. What had once been a shining career was now seen as another reminder of how quickly the NFL can chew players up and spit them out. But while everyone else had written him off, deep inside, one fire still burned. He was not done yet. Being cut from the team was supposed to be the end. For months, the silence was deafening. No phone calls from teams, no offers from coaches, just empty days filled with doubt and regret. The media labeled him as washed up, and another cautionary tale of wasted potential. His face disappeared from magazine covers, and the fans who once cheered his name moved on to newer, younger stars. But the worst battles were not fought on the field, they were fought in his mind. Depression crept in slowly, the weight of failure pressing down with every passing day. Every highlight reel from his glory days felt like a reminder of what had been lost. The training stopped, motivation disappeared, and even getting out of bed became a struggle. Friends stopped calling. Even those closest to him struggled to understand what he was going through. Sponsors quietly withdrew their support, and the few public appearances he made were filled with awkward questions about retirement. Then, one night, everything changed. During a late-night phone call, his old coach reached out, not to talk about football, but about life. "You're more than this game," the coach said. "But if you're not done, you need to stop feeling sorry for yourself and start fighting again. You owe that to yourself." The words hit hard. The next morning, he made a decision that would change his life. He would fight. The comeback didn't start in the gym or on the field. It began in the quiet moments. Therapy sessions helped him battle his demons, and meditation helped him clear his mind. Slowly, the fire returned. He began training again. Early mornings, late nights, pushing his body through pain and exhaustion. It wasn't about proving anyone wrong anymore. It was about proving to himself that he wasn't finished. But opportunities were scarce. Teams still doubted his ability to play at the highest level, until, finally, a struggling franchise took a chance. A 1-year contract, a non-guaranteed spot. No promises, just a chance. And that was all he needed. A non-guaranteed contract wasn't much, but for him it was everything. The moment he signed that paper, he knew it was his last shot. No fame, no big endorsements, and no room for mistakes. The critics didn't care about his return. They dismissed him as a charity case, a former star trying to hold on to a career that was already over. But what the world didn't see was the work happening behind the scenes. His training regimen was brutal. Hours in the gym, endless drills on the field, and film study that stretched late into the night. He wasn't chasing records anymore. He was chasing redemption. Every rep, every sprint, every play was fueled by something deeper than fame. The desire to prove he still belonged. When training camp began, he was ready. Teammates who had grown up watching his highlights now watched him up close, surprised by his hunger and determination. He wasn't the fastest on the field anymore, nor the strongest. But he was relentless. Every practice was a reminder that while others had natural gifts, his greatest weapon was his refusal to quit. The preseason was his proving ground. Coaches gave him limited snaps, just enough to gauge whether he could keep up. And he delivered. In his first game back, he made a clutch third-down catch, drawing cheers from the crowd. In his second, he scored a touchdown, sparking whispers among commentators. Maybe he's not done after all. But the real test came when the season started. The coaches added him to the active roster, though expectations remained low. He was seen as a veteran presence, not a game changer. That changed in Week 4. With his team trailing in the final minutes, the quarterback looked his way on a crucial 4th down. The pass came fast, defenders closing in. He caught it, twisted past a defender, and secured the first down. That play wasn't flashy, but it proved something vital. He could still make an impact. Each week, his role grew. He wasn't just filling a roster spot, he was becoming essential again. And soon, the entire league would realize the star they had written off wasn't finished. By mid-season, whispers of his comeback had turned into headlines, but no one, not even his most loyal fans, could have predicted what would happen next. It was Week 12, a must-win game to keep his team's playoff hopes alive. The opponent? A top-ranked defense that hadn't allowed a touchdown in 2 games. The stakes were sky-high, and every analyst predicted defeat for his team. But he had something no one could measure: relentless determination. The first half was a struggle. His team couldn't find any rhythm, and by halftime they trailed by 2 touchdowns. Cameras occasionally cut to him on the sidelines, calm, focused, and waiting for the moment that would change everything. That moment came in the 4th quarter. Down by 6 points with 2 minutes left on the clock, the offense took the field for their final drive. Every yard was hard-fought, and as time ticked away, they found themselves at the opponent's 30-yard line. One play could win the game. The coach called a risky move, a deep route designed for him. The quarterback gave him a quick nod. This was it. The ball snapped. The defense blitzed hard, collapsing the pocket. The quarterback scrambled to his right, buying precious seconds. Downfield, he sprinted past two defenders, his eyes locked on the end zone. The pass flew through the air, a perfect spiral cutting through the tension of the stadium. He leaped, arms stretched, heart pounding. The defenders closed in, hands swiping at the ball. But it didn't matter. His hands closed around the leather like magnets drawn to steel. Touchdown. The stadium erupted into chaos. Fans screamed. Teammates rushed toward him, lifting him off the ground as the scoreboard flashed the final score. Victory. Commentators lost their voices, trying to describe the moment. An unbelievable catch from a player everyone counted out. The comeback of the decade. But for him, it wasn't about the stats or the highlight reels. It was about proving that heart, resilience, and pure willpower could rewrite even the most impossible endings. This wasn't just a game-winning play. It was the moment that reminded the world who he truly was, a star who refused to quit. The touchdown wasn't just a win, it was a statement. The headlines the next day told the story everyone had been waiting to write. The comeback is complete. Against all odds, he's back on top. The star who refused to quit shines again. But for him, it wasn't about the spotlight. It was about redemption. As the season continued, his role grew. He became the go-to player in clutch moments, the one teammates trusted when the game was on the line. The same fans who had once forgotten his name now wore his jersey with pride. Coaches who once doubted him began building plays around his strengths again. But beyond the touchdowns, beyond the stats, his true victory was the lesson he had taught the world. Failure isn't final unless you let it be. His story inspired more than just football players. Across the league, young athletes facing injuries or setbacks found motivation in his relentless comeback. Coaches began to reference his journey in locker rooms, reminding their players that heart and persistence often matter more than raw talent. Off the field, his impact was just as powerful. He launched a foundation dedicated to supporting injured athletes, helping them not only recover physically but also rebuild their confidence. He spoke openly about his mental health struggles, encouraging others to seek help when they needed it most. And when award season came, there was no surprise when his name was announced as the Comeback Player of the Year. The standing ovation that followed wasn't just for his incredible season. It was for his courage to keep fighting when everyone else had given up. In his acceptance speech, he delivered a message that would echo through NFL history. It's easy to quit when the world doubts you. The real victory is refusing to quit when even you start to doubt yourself. His legacy wasn't about records or trophies. It was about resilience, grit, and the unwavering refusal to let failure define him. Against all odds, he didn't just return. He redefined what it means to never give up. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who refuses to quit. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible NFL stories of perseverance and triumph.